Welcome to the world of economics, where the recent debt crisis is causing a stir, leaving economists and lawmakers scrambling for solutions. The U.S. government recently teetered on the edge of its borrowing limit, a staggering $31.4 trillion. This precarious position has sparked heated debates and urgent strategizing among those in power. But it's not all doom and gloom. A glimmer of hope has emerged in the form of a bipartisan plan. U.S. lawmakers, in an attempt to avert the looming debt ceiling crisis, have proposed a shift from a fixed dollar amount to a percentage of national economic output. A bold move designed to limit debt to a share of economic output and instigate budget cuts if borrowing exceeds that share. The stakes are high, and the world is watching with bated breath. As the world watches, the question remains, how will this crisis be averted? The U.S. debt ceiling, a ticking time bomb that could have global repercussions. But what exactly is it? Well, in simple terms, the debt ceiling is the maximum amount of money that the United States government is authorized to borrow to meet its existing legal obligations. It's a cap set by Congress, and it's one of the few mechanisms of its kind in the world. The concept of the debt ceiling first came about in the early 20th century as a way to give the Treasury Department the flexibility to manage the government's finances. But over the decades, the debt ceiling has evolved into a political tool, often triggering high-stakes standoffs in Washington. It's like a game of fiscal chicken, with both sides trying to leverage the debt ceiling for their own political gain. And while this might seem like just another chapter in the ongoing saga of partisan politics, the stakes are incredibly high. The United States is one of the few countries that sets a legal limit on borrowing. This means that failure to raise the debt ceiling could lead to a default, something that's never happened in the history of the U.S. The consequences would be severe, both domestically and globally. The U.S. government would be unable to pay its bills, resulting in a ripple effect that could potentially trigger a financial crisis. And yet, despite these potential consequences, the debt ceiling continues to be a contentious issue. Recently, lawmakers proposed a plan to change the debt ceiling from a fixed dollar amount to a percentage of national economic output. This plan aims to limit debt to a share of economic output and would force budget cuts if borrowing exceeds that share. It's a potential solution, but it's also a controversial one, with critics arguing that it could lead to arbitrary and harmful cuts in government spending. With the clock ticking, lawmakers are under pressure to raise the debt ceiling and prevent a fiscal breakdown. But the question remains, will they be able to put aside their differences and come to an agreement before it's too late? Only time will tell. In the midst of the crisis, a bipartisan group of U.S. lawmakers proposes a potential solution. But will it work? In a bold move, the lawmakers are suggesting a paradigm shift in how we approach our debt ceiling. Instead of a fixed dollar amount, they propose tying the debt ceiling to a percentage of our national economic output. This would mean the debt ceiling would fluctuate with the ebb and flow of the economy, rather than being a static figure. The potential benefits of this plan could be substantial. For one, it could help avoid the recurring political standoffs that have become synonymous with the debt ceiling. It could also provide a more realistic and flexible approach to managing national debt, as it would be directly linked to the nation's economic health. However, this plan is not without its drawbacks. One major concern is that tying the debt ceiling to economic output could lead to an ever-increasing debt limit if the economy continues to grow. This could potentially exacerbate our debt problem rather than alleviate it. Moreover, the plan proposes automatic budget cuts if borrowing exceeds the share of economic output. While this may sound like a prudent fiscal measure, it could potentially lead to drastic cuts in critical areas such as healthcare, education, and infrastructure, which could have far-reaching implications for the American people. There's also the question of political will. House Republicans are keen on using the debt ceiling deadline to force spending cuts, while the White House opposes negotiations over lifting the debt limit. Bridging this divide will be no small feat. Finally, there's the issue of global market repercussions. The United States is one of the few countries that sets a legal limit on borrowing. A shift in our approach could unsettle global markets, at least in the short term. The bipartisan plan offers a glimmer of hope, but it's not without its challenges. As we navigate this economic tightrope, it's clear that the road to a sustainable fiscal future is paved with both opportunities and obstacles. As the debt crisis looms, what does the future hold for the U.S. economy? A question that sparks a myriad of possibilities. The potential outcomes of this crisis are as diverse as they are impactful, with ripples that could extend beyond the U.S. to the global economy. One scenario that could unfold is a debt ceiling fight after the midterms. If this occurs, it could turn into a leverage play, with parties using the ceiling as a bargaining chip to curb spending on opposing initiatives. The political tug-of-war could lead to a stalemate, threatening the US's ability to pay its bills and potentially sending shockwaves through global markets. Moreover, if the US Treasury reaches its borrowing limit, we could see severe consequences. It's a precarious situation that could exacerbate global economic uncertainties and potentially tip the scales towards a financial meltdown. However, there's also the potential for reform. Some lawmakers are advocating for an overhaul of the borrowing process to avoid recurring conflicts over the debt ceiling. If successful, this could lead to a more sustainable fiscal trajectory for the US. The future is uncertain, but one thing is clear: the debt crisis is a challenge that must be addressed. The recent debt crisis, a complex issue with far-reaching implications. We've delved into the intricacies of the debt ceiling, scrutinized a promising bipartisan plan, and pondered potential future scenarios. The economic landscape is ever-shifting, and it's crucial to stay informed. The debt crisis isn't just an economic issue, it's a societal one that affects us all. Stay informed and stay ahead. Don't forget to subscribe for more updates on this and other economic issues. Thanks for watching.